There's a product I was recently told about that's on the market that lets you charge an electric car only when there's solar available. Now it works because there's a control pin on the charger to the car that lets it know how much current's available from the wall. Now if you've got a Tesla car and a Tesla Powerwall, you don't need that product. You can pretty much do it yourself, and I'll show you how to do that. The difference is the Tesla, you can't really change the current that's supplied from the charger because what it's set at inside is done by dip switches and you can't really change that. So the Tesla is a bit different to the others, but I'll show you how we can do a similar function through software and a Raspberry Pi. Here's a look at the code as it currently is. Now this isn't going to be the final product, but just give you an idea. So at the top I'm just showing the battery chargers, obviously the Powerwall and the car battery, what they currently are. Now the house power here is what the house is consuming without including the car. The car's power usage from the charger is 3600, so the total is 3929. Now what I've got here is a running average over the last 10 minutes. Okay, so as the power fluctuates, I'll get the average over 10 minutes. The main reason for that is because I've done the same in solar. So right now I've got 4600 watts from solar, but over the last 10 minutes the average is 44. Now, as you can see, yes, the solar is therefore covering the whole of the load, so that's fine. The reason I did this moving average though is because if a cloud comes over for half a minute or whatever, the solar power here will drop right down. But it's only a passing cloud, so unless it's been cloudy for over 10 minutes, then I don't really care. So that's it as it currently is. Now this down here is just while I'm testing this program really, that's energy since I started running the program. So as you can see, there's more solars being produced than I've consumed. Now obviously I can't make a cloud come over to give you a demo of that, but what I can do is put the kettle on. So you'll see the load, which is currently just under 4 kilowatts, and that's its average pretty much because I haven't done much in the last 10 minutes. When I start the kettle, this is taking 30-second snapshots. The total power usage, this number here, will increase when it updates within 30 seconds. And the total power moving average won't increase as much. So give that a sec. Oh, there we go. Okay, so now the kettle's on. I'm using 6 kilowatts. The average only jumped by a bit. So even that, I've still got covered 100%. So that's the same concept that I'm going to use with clouds for when the solar drops. It's the same as the load increasing. It's how much is covered by solar. Alright, as you can see it's charging because the light's doing its dance. Now if I want to stop the car remotely, you can use the API. So I've just put a little Python script in here and just run that, stop charging. It'll get around to it. And there it goes. So that's stop charging from this. And of course I can start it again. Start charging. And yeah, it takes a couple of seconds because it goes via Tesla. This isn't local to the car, it goes through Tesla. And so I can control the starting and stopping of the charge. One thing I can't do remotely is change the charge current. Now in the car, you just change it to whatever manually. I can't do that remotely. I can read it remotely though. So that's how I work out the power that the car's using. I just multiply the current by the voltage. And that's how I can also distinguish the amount of load that is the car and what is the rest of the house using just the one CT clamp in the switchboard that's connected to the Powerwall. Now if all I wanted to do was charge the car only when there's more solar power coming in than what's required, that would be it now, that's the job done. But I want to make it a bit smarter than that because if you have a look on one of the graphs here that I've got, you'll see that obviously the solar power here in yellow rises gently to a peak and then starts coming down, whereas in blue here that's the load. As soon as you turn that on, that's running way up higher. So during this period here I'm using more power than I'm producing. So if I had it simplistic where it would only charge if there's more solar, it would only charge between this point here and this point here. But there's a lot of energy just outside those that I could be charging with if there's enough charge in the Powerwall, so I don't have to use the grid, and also I could do a prediction almost basically to see that if the solar is rising steadily without being choppy, it sort of indicates that it's a sunny day. So it's kind of like a little bit of a weather forecast as well. I'll put them into the final product, and that'll make it a bit smarter. This is today's graph of the solar power, and it's a good example because, as you can see, there's a few clouds around, and the solar here goes up, down, so it's the power of the car, well, the whole house load is here in blue. It stays steady, but the solar, 1 minute it's higher, next minute it's lower, then it's higher, then it's lower, and that's where that averaging calculation comes into effect. So rather than turn it on and off and on and off all the time, I can see that the average power over the 5 minutes that I'm going to use for the interval, I can see it's covered, so it'll stay on charging in that situation. So that's pretty much how the system's going to work. As you can see, it's a pretty sunny day today with a few clouds, and I feel like a weatherman now, but those clouds are only passing clouds, and it's not enough to stop the charging, okay, because I've taken that average into account. Now, the reason I could do all this is because there's a CT clamp already in the power meter because of the Powerwall install, and I can access the Powerwall's API and the car's API. So there's no need for that Zappi or any other third-party product. Okay, Tesla have not incorporated any logic to join the Powerwall and the car like this, but it can be done as I've just shown. If you want to see the details of this, I'll put them on my website, which is cwne88.com, and that's where I'll put details of these videos in the future.